I heard them through the kitchen door. My son's voice, then hers. We need to talk about getting him into a facility. He's not managing well on his own. The laugh that followed wasn't cruel exactly, just dismissive, like I was a problem to be solved, not a person to be considered. I stood in the hallway of my son's house, holding the apple pie I'd baked that morning, still warm in its dish. My hands didn't shake. Not yet. I didn't leave. I walked into that kitchen like I hadn't heard a thing, past the granite countertops I'd helped pay for, past the farmhouse table where we used to do homework together when he was small. Daniel looked up first. His face did something complicated, like watching a man realize he'd left the door unlocked. "Dad, we didn't know you were here already. Traffic was lighter than I expected," I said, setting the pie down on the counter. Jennifer, my daughter-in-law, was chopping vegetables with more focus than the task required. She didn't look up. "Can I help with anything?" "We've got it under control," Jennifer said, still not looking. Thanksgiving dinner that year felt like eating in a museum. Everyone there, no one really present. My granddaughter, Emma, 16, asked me once about school. My grandson, Tyler, 12, showed me a video game on his phone for exactly 40 seconds before Jennifer called him away. Daniel carved the turkey with the precision of a surgeon, narrating the process like he was hosting a cooking show nobody had asked for. I sat at the far end of the table, the same seat I'd occupied for 5 years now since Margaret died. After the meal, I helped clear plates. Jennifer took them from my hands. "You don't have to do that, Frank. Go relax." The way she said relax made it sound like an instruction, not an invitation. I went to the living room and sat in the chair by the window, the one that faced away from the television. I watched the street instead. A neighbor walked their dog. Someone's teenage kid backed out of a driveway too fast. I stayed until just after 8. I said goodbye to the kids, who looked up from their devices long enough to wave. Daniel walked me to the door. "Drive safe, Dad. Text when you get home so we know you made it." The same thing he'd said every time for 3 years. I always texted. He rarely replied. That night, I sat in the kitchen of the house where I'd lived for 42 years. The house where Margaret and I raised Daniel, where we celebrated birthdays and argued about paint colors and slow danced in the living room when we thought he was asleep. I made tea in the pot she'd bought at an estate sale in 1987. Just 1 cup. I didn't sleep much. Instead, I went to the filing cabinet in the spare bedroom. The folder I wanted was labeled Daniel, Business. Inside, the paperwork from 7 years ago when he'd asked for help starting his consulting firm. $80,000 from our retirement account. Margaret had been hesitant. "That's a lot of money, Frank." But I'd convinced her. "He's our son. He's got a solid business plan. We can afford it." The agreement we'd signed said gift, with no expectation of repayment. I'd insisted on that. Didn't want him to feel burdened. Wanted him to succeed on his own terms. There was another folder. House. Daniel. The mortgage cosign from 4 years ago when he and Jennifer wanted to upgrade. The bank wouldn't approve them a loan. Their debt-to-income ratio was too high. I'd put my name on the loan. My credit. My risk. Just until we refinance, Daniel had said. They never did. I sat at that table until sunrise, reading documents I'd signed with love and trust. By morning, I'd made my first decision in 5 years that wasn't about making things easier for someone else. Monday, I called Robert Chen, an attorney Margaret and I had used for estate planning a decade ago. "Frank," he said, his voice warm with recognition. "It's been too long. How are you holding up?" "I need to review some documents," I said. "Legal ones, financial ones, and I need advice on how to protect myself." I didn't elaborate. He didn't ask. "Come in tomorrow. Bring everything." That night, I pulled out every piece of paper that had Daniel's name on it. The business gift agreement, the mortgage, the power of attorney documents he'd asked me to sign 2 years ago just in case something happens, Dad, so we can take care of things for you. I'd signed them in his kitchen while Jennifer made coffee neither of us drank. Tuesday morning, I dressed the way I used to for work. Pressed khakis, button-down shirt, the leather belt Margaret bought me for our 30th anniversary. When you're about to reclaim your life, You don't wear sweatpants. Robert's office smelled like coffee and old books. He read through everything with the kind of quiet intensity that made me understand why Margaret had trusted him. When he finished, he removed his glasses and looked at me for a long moment. The business gift is clean. It's theirs. You can't reclaim it. He paused. But you can make sure nothing else follows the same path. The mortgage? You're a co-signer. You're liable if they default. You can't remove yourself without their cooperation or a refinance. But, he leaned forward, you can protect your other assets, your house, your remaining accounts, your estate. You can revoke the power of attorney immediately, and you can adjust your will to reflect your current wishes. Do it, I said. We spent 3 hours going through options. By the time I left, I had a plan. Not revenge. Something quieter than that. Reclamation. On Wednesday, I drove to First National Bank. The branch manager, a woman named Patricia, who'd helped us set up our accounts when we first moved to Phoenix, greeted me with genuine warmth. Mr. Morrison, it's so good to see you. What can I help you with today? I need to review all authorized users on my accounts, I said, and I'd like to make some changes. She pulled up my information. You have your son listed as joint owner on your checking account and as beneficiary on everything else. I'd like to remove him as joint owner, make him a beneficiary only, and change my primary beneficiary to my granddaughter Emma, with a trust structure that releases funds when she turns 25. Patricia's expression didn't change, but something in her eyes told me this wasn't the first time she'd seen this particular story. I can help you with that. It'll take about 20 minutes to process. While she worked, I stared at a plant in the corner. A peace lily. Its white blooms bright against dark leaves. Margaret had loved peace lilies. Said they were forgiving plants, hard to kill. She'd kept one in our bedroom for years. Patricia printed the new documents. I signed each one with steady hands. Is there anything else you need, Mr. Morrison? Yes. I'd like to set up alerts for any attempts to access my accounts. And I want a new debit card with updated security. The old one should be deactivated immediately. She nodded, typing. Your son had a card linked to your account. That will be deactivated as well. Perfect. That evening, my phone rang. Daniel. I let it go to voicemail. An hour later, Jennifer called. I didn't answer that either. The voicemail she left was careful, controlled. Frank, we're getting some alerts from the bank about account changes. Just wanted to make sure everything's okay. Can you call us back? I deleted it. Thursday morning, I met with Robert again. This time to sign the revocation of power of attorney. He had it notarized in his office, then filed it immediately with the county. They'll receive notice within 48 hours, he said. After that, any attempt they make to use the old POA is invalid and potentially fraudulent. Good. Frank, Robert said, his voice careful. I have to ask. Are you sure about this? These are significant changes. If there's any possibility of reconciliation, I heard them planning to put me in a facility, I said. I'm 67 years old. I play tennis twice a week. I volunteer at the library. I cook my own meals. The only thing I'm not managing well is my tolerance for being treated like a burden. He nodded slowly. Then we're doing the right thing. Friday, Daniel showed up at my house. I watched from the window as he parked, sat in his car for a few minutes, then got out. He knocked 3 times before I opened the door. Dad, what's going on? The bank called Jennifer. Said you'd removed her from the accounts, and we got something from a lawyer about the power of attorney. I made some changes, I said, not moving from the doorway. Changes? Dad, we're trying to help you. We're worried about you living here alone, managing everything by yourself. I'm managing fine. Are you? His voice rose slightly. You're almost 70. This house is too big. What if you fall? What if something happens? Then I'll call 911. Like anyone else would. That's not Dad. We're family. We should be involved. We should be helping you make these decisions. The way you and Jennifer were helping by discussing facilities. Without asking me? Without even telling me? His face went carefully blank. You heard that. I heard that. He ran a hand through his hair, the same gesture he'd used since he was 12 when he was caught in something he couldn't explain away. We were just talking, just discussing options. For the future. You weren't supposed to, it wasn't. It wasn't meant for me to know. I finished. I understand. A lot of things weren't meant for me to know. Like the fact that you haven't tried to refinance the house in 4 years. Or that the business I gave you $80,000 for has been profitable for 3 years, but you've never once offered to pay me back. That was a gift. You said, I said no expectation of repayment. I didn't say no expectation of gratitude, or inclusion, or basic respect. We stood there in the doorway, father and son, separated by more than the threshold. Finally, Daniel said, "So what? You're cutting us off? Because of a conversation you overheard?" "I'm not cutting you off. I'm choosing myself. There's a difference." I stepped back. "I think you should go." "Dad," I closed the door. Not slammed, just closed. Then I stood in my hallway for 5 minutes, breathing, before I went back to the kitchen and made lunch. A sandwich. Nothing special, but I ate it slowly, tasting every bite. That weekend, I didn't hear from anyone. Saturday, I played tennis with my usual group. Sunday, I volunteered at the library's book sale. Margot, one of the other volunteers, invited me to join their monthly book club. We meet at my place, first Tuesday of every month. Nothing fancy, just wine and snacks and arguing about literature. "You'd fit right in." I said yes. "Monday," Emma called. "My granddaughter." Her voice was small, uncertain. "Grandpa? It's me." "Hi, sweetheart. I heard Dad said you guys had a fight about the bank and stuff." "We had a disagreement," I said carefully. "About boundaries. He's really upset. Mom, too. They keep talking about how you're not thinking clearly, how you need help. Do I seem unclear to you, Emma?" A pause. "No. You seem like Grandpa." Another pause. "Can I ask you something?" "Anything." "Why did they say that? About putting you somewhere?" "You're not. You're fine. You take me to the movies. You beat me at Scrabble. You remember my friends' names better than my parents do." My throat tightened. "Thank you for noticing that. Is it true you took their names off your bank accounts?" "I made some changes to protect myself." "Yes. Are you mad at me too?" "No, sweetheart. Never at you. Can I still come visit?" "Just me?" "I'd like that very much." She came over Wednesday after school. I made her favorite snack, the same thing I'd made since she was 6. Apple slices with peanut butter and a handful of chocolate chips. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where I'd done this with her father 30 years ago. "They don't know I'm here," she said. "I told them I was going to Hannah's house." "You shouldn't lie to your parents, Emma. They shouldn't lie about you." She met my eyes, and I saw steel there I hadn't noticed before. "I heard Mom on the phone with her sister. She said you were being difficult, that you'd always been difficult." "That's not true. Grandma used to tell me how patient you were, how kind." I didn't trust my voice for a moment. "Finally, your grandmother was a gracious woman. I miss her," Emma said. "I bet you do too. Every day." We spent 2 hours together. She told me about school, about the boy she liked who didn't know she existed, about the college essay she was trying to write. I listened, really listened. When she left, she hugged me hard. "Don't let them make you small, Grandpa. You're the biggest person I know." That night, I wrote in the journal Margaret had given me years ago. I'd never used it while she was alive. Seemed self-indulgent, writing about my own thoughts. But now, I wrote, "Emma came today." Maybe that's enough. Maybe one person who really sees you is worth more than a dozen who only see what they need you to be. Thanksgiving came around again. I wasn't invited to Daniel's house. Instead, I accepted Margot's invitation to her family's dinner. They were loud, chaotic, argumentative, in the way families are when they actually like each other. Her son debated politics with her brother. Her daughter's husband told terrible jokes. Everyone talked over everyone else. It was nothing like the silent, careful meals at Daniel's house. Margot's grandson, 7 years old, asked me to help him build a Lego set after dinner. We sat on the floor for an hour, following instructions, finding tiny pieces. His mother apologized 3 times for him bothering me. Each time, I said the same thing. He's not bothering me. This is the best part of my day. On the drive home, I realized I'd laughed more in 4 hours than I had in 4 years. December brought a letter from Daniel. Not an email. An actual letter, handwritten. I recognized his handwriting immediately. The same scrawl he'd had since high school. "Dad," it began. "I don't know how to fix this. I don't know if you want me to. Jennifer says I should let you cool off, that you'll come around. But Emma says I'm wrong. She says I hurt you. She says I don't see you. I'm scared she's right. I'm scared I became the kind of man who looks at his father and sees a responsibility instead of a person. I don't know when that happened. I don't know how to undo it. But I'm sorry. I'm sorry," I laughed. "I'm sorry I didn't shut that conversation down immediately. I'm sorry I made you feel like a burden when you've never been anything but a blessing. I know you changed your will," Emma told me. "I know I'm not the executor anymore. I know you left the house to a trust for Emma and Tyler. I'm not asking you to change it back. I'm asking for the chance to prove I can be the son you deserved, not the one you got." I read it 3 times. Then I folded it and put it in my desk drawer. Not forgiveness, not refusal, just a space where it could rest, undisturbed. "Christmas Eve," Emma called. "Can I bring someone to visit you tomorrow?" "Who?" "It's a surprise. A good one. I promise." Christmas Day, Emma arrived at noon with Tyler, my grandson, who hadn't said more than 5 words to me in 2 years. He stood on my porch in a Suns jersey and jeans, looking at his shoes. "Tyler has something he wants to say," Emma prompted. The boy looked up, 12 years old, caught between childhood and whatever comes after. "I'm sorry, Grandpa, for ignoring you," Emma said. "She said you're lonely, and that it's partly my fault. I didn't mean to. I just thought you wanted to be left alone." I crouched down, ignoring the protest in my knees. "I level with him now. I'm not lonely, Tyler. Not anymore. But I appreciate you saying that. Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Why did you take Dad off the bank accounts?" "He says it's because you don't trust him anymore." Honesty. Emma wanted truth. I owed Tyler the same. I did it because I needed to feel like I had control over my own life. Your dad and mom were making decisions about my future without including me. That's not trust. That's management, and I'm not ready to be managed. Are you still mad at them? I'm not mad. I'm just clear about what I need. We spent the afternoon together. I taught Tyler how to make Margaret's famous cinnamon rolls from scratch. Emma and I wrapped presents for Margot's book club gift exchange. We watched It's a Wonderful Life on television. When they left, Tyler hugged me without prompting. "Can I come back next week?" "I'd like that." New Year's Eve, I made a list. Not resolutions, intentions. Things I wanted for the year ahead. Join the woodworking class at the community center. Take Emma to see the Grand Canyon like I'd promised Margaret I would. Read 1 book a month from the library book club list. Have Tyler over every Sunday for cooking lessons. Play tennis 3 times a week instead of 2. Say no without apologizing when something doesn't serve me. January brought a hard freeze that killed half of Margot's roses. I helped her prune them back, cutting away the dead wood so new growth could come. She made observations about metaphors. I didn't disagree. February, Daniel called. Not Jennifer. Him. "Dad, can we talk? Just you and me? Maybe lunch?" We met at the diner where I used to take him after Little League games. He ordered the same thing he'd ordered at age 10. Grilled cheese and fries. Some things don't change. Others do. "Emma told me about the Sunday cooking lessons with Tyler," he said. "She says he talks about you all the time now. About what you teach him. He's a good kid." "He is." Daniel pushed fries around his plate. "I was a good kid once, too. Wasn't I? You were the best kid." "What happened?" I thought about that. Really thought. You grew up. You built a life. You got busy. Those things aren't wrong. But somewhere in there, you started seeing me as part of your to-do list instead of your family. Check on Dad. Handle Dad. make decisions about Dad. I became a task to be managed. I thought I was being helpful. I know you did. I wasn't, though. Was I? No. He nodded slowly. Jennifer and I are going to counseling. For us. But also, we're talking about how we treat people. How we treated you. She grew up in a family where the grandparents were. They needed a lot of care. A lot of management. She applied that template to you without realizing you're nothing like them. I appreciate you telling me that. Dad, I know I can't undo what I said, what I didn't say, the ways I failed you, but I want to try, to do better, to be better. I looked at my son, 42 years old, gray starting at his temples, lines around his eyes. When had that happened? I'm not asking you to be perfect, Daniel. I'm just asking you to see me. I do. I'm trying to. Then we can work with that. We didn't hug, didn't make grand declarations, just paid the bill and walked to our separate cars. But before he drove away, he rolled down his window. Sunday dinners, he said, at your place. Can we make that a thing? All of us. If you'll have us. Not all of you, I said. Not yet. But Emma and Tyler, they're always welcome. He nodded. Acceptance, not agreement. That was enough. March. The woodworking class started. I made a small box with dovetail joints. Nothing fancy, but when I finished, I gave it to Emma for her birthday. She cried, put her jewelry in it, said she'd keep it forever. April. Tyler asked if he could bring a friend to Sunday cooking lessons. I said, yes. Now 2 12-year-old boys destroyed my kitchen every week, and I'd never been happier about a mess. May, on what would have been our 45th wedding anniversary, I took Margaret's ashes to the place she'd always wanted them scattered. The desert botanical garden during spring bloom. Emma came with me. She held my hand while I said goodbye to the container, knowing the love didn't need a vessel to continue. June brought my 68th birthday. No cake. No party. Just a knock on my door at 7 in the morning. Daniel stood there with coffee and donuts. Can I come in? We sat on the back patio and watched the sun rise over the neighbor's roof. Didn't talk much. Didn't need to. Thank you, he said finally. For what? For not giving up on me. Even when I gave you every reason to. You're my son, I said. That doesn't come with conditions. It should come with basic respect, though. I owe you that. I owe you more than that. Later, the whole book club came over. Margot organized it without telling me. 12 people in my backyard, eating pie and arguing about Steinbeck. Emma and Tyler set up a playlist. Someone brought a guitar. We sang terrible renditions of classic rock songs until the neighbors complained. It was the best birthday I'd had in 6 years. July. I got a call from the mortgage company. Daniel had refinanced. My name was off the loan. He didn't tell me he was doing it, just did it. The paperwork came with a note. Should have done this years ago. Thank you for carrying me until I could carry myself. August. Jennifer came to the house alone. First time since Thanksgiving 2 years before. She stood on the porch like Emma had that first day, uncertain of her welcome. I owe you an apology, she said. A real one. Not because Daniel asked me to, because I need to. I invited her in, made tea, let her talk. I was scared, she said. My grandfather had dementia, spent years in a facility, drained my parents' savings, destroyed my mom. When I married Daniel, I was terrified of history repeating. So when you'd forget small things, or slow down, I didn't see a normal 67-year-old man. I saw my grandfather. I saw my mom's exhaustion, and I tried to get ahead of it, control it before it controlled us. I'm not your grandfather, I said quietly. I know that now. But I'm sorry, I didn't know it then. We talked for 2 hours. Not friends, not yet. Maybe not ever, but something closer, too honest. September, I started writing letters. To Margaret. Things I should have said when she was alive. Things I learned after she was gone. I wrote about how losing her taught me to find myself. How learning to live alone taught me I didn't have to be lonely. How choosing myself wasn't selfish, it was survival. I didn't mail them anywhere, just kept them in the journal. Some conversations don't need an audience. October brought the news that Emma got accepted to ASU with a partial scholarship. The trust I'd set up would cover the rest. She'd study education. Wanted to be a teacher, like you were to Tyler, she said. Teaching isn't just about school. It's about showing people they matter. This Thanksgiving, I hosted. First time in 6 years. Emma and Tyler helped me cook. Daniel brought wine. Jennifer made her grandmother's green bean casserole. We sat around my table, the table where Margaret and I had shared 43 years of meals, and went around saying what we were grateful for. When it was my turn, I looked at each of them. I'm grateful for boundaries, I said. For learning that loving people doesn't mean losing yourself. For second chances. And for everyone at this table who chose to see me instead of just looking past me. Emma squeezed my hand. Tyler grinned. Daniel's eyes were bright. That night, after they all left, I sat on the back patio with a cup of coffee. The November air was cool, perfect. A neighbor's wind chime made soft music in the breeze. I thought about the man I'd been 2 years ago, standing in Daniel's hallway with a pie nobody wanted, invisible in my own family's story. I thought about the man I was now, surrounded by people who chose me, who saw me, who valued what I brought to the table. I pulled out my journal and wrote one last entry for the day. They asked if I was managing well on my own. Now I can answer, I'm not on my own. I'm simply free. Free to choose who sits at my table. Free to love without losing myself. Free to be a father, a grandfather, a friend on my own terms. And that's not managing. That's living. I closed the journal and looked up at the stars. Somewhere up there, Margaret was laughing, proud. She always knew I had it in me. I just had to find it myself. The wind chime sang. I finished my coffee. Tomorrow, Tyler and his friend would come for Sunday cooking lessons. We'd make lasagna, make a mess, make memories. But tonight, I sat in the quiet and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not because everything was perfect, because everything was mine.